everybody, welcome to Yummy Monday. You'll notice that today we are in the dining room again, but we're not doing a craft. Today it's actually the dining room instead of the craft room. I found this really cool book at my work, and some of you know that I work at a school. And this is one of the books that one of our teachers had, and I thought it was really cute. So we're going to read this book today. This is something new for us, and then we're going to do an activity afterwards. So let's get started with the book. The book is called Spoon. And some of you here to help me turn the pages. This is Spoon. And this is Spoon's family. On Sundays, Spoon goes to visit his Aunt Silver. He has to be on his very best behavior there. She's very fancy and proper. Goodbye, darling. Ta-ta. At bedtime, Spoon likes to hear the story about his adventurous great-grandmother who fell in love with a dish and ran off to a distant land. Lately, though, Spoon had been feeling blue. "What's wrong?" asked his mother. "You look a bit out of shape." "Nothing," mumbled Spoon. "It's just that, I don't know. All my friends have it so much better than me. Like Knife. Knife is so lucky. He gets to cut. He gets to spread. I never get to cut or spread." "Yes, Knife is pretty spiffy that way, isn't he?" "And Fork. Fork is so lucky. She gets to go practically everywhere. And I bet she never goes stir crazy like I do. Fork does get out and make herself useful, doesn't she?" "And Chopsticks. They are so lucky. Everyone thinks they're really cool and exotic, and no one thinks I'm cool or exotic. Those Chopsticks are something else, aren't they?" Meanwhile, if Spoon only knew what his friends were saying at that very minute. "Spoon is so lucky," said Knife. "He's so fun and easygoing, and everyone's so serious with me. No one's ever allowed to be silly with me like they are with Spoon." "Spoon is so lucky," said Fork. "He gets to measure stuff. No one ever does that with me." "Spoon is so lucky," said Chopsticks. "He can go places all by himself, but we can never function apart." That night, after bedtime stories, Spoon's mom turned off the light, tucked him in, and said, "You know, Spoon, I wonder if you realize just how lucky you are. Your friends will never know the joy of diving headfirst into a bowl of ice cream. They'll never know what it feels like to clink against the side of a cereal bowl. They'll never be able to twirl around in a mug or relax in a hot cup of tea." Spoon hadn't thought of it that way before. He lay awake in bed for a long time. His mind was racing. He felt so alive. There was only one thing he could do. "I can't sleep." "Come snuggle. Come over, Spoon." And so he did. Wasn't that a great book? What I like about this book is that it reminds us that everybody has different talents, and sometimes you don't see the talents that other people see in yourself. Some of you are really good at creating art projects, some of you are good at sports, music, all kinds of different things. And the main thing is just to be really good at what your talent is. Don't try to be somebody else or take on somebody else's talent. Just figure out what your best talent is and then do that the best you can. So since we have this great book about Spoon, I thought that we would learn how to set a table correctly today. I know that many of you, when you are at family dinners, that's a job that you're given to do, is set the table. But you maybe don't know which side the fork goes on, where the napkin goes, what side the spoon goes on, so that's what we're going to do. So you'll see here that I have all of the things we need to have dinner. We have our glass, and we have our forks, knife, and spoon, plate, and our napkin. So the first thing you do is set your placemat. Now you don't have to use the placemat, but if you want to, it makes your table extra beautiful and fancy. You can get all kinds of placemats. You can make placemats or buy special holiday placemats. So then we have our plate. So we'll set our plate right in the middle of our placemat. Next we have our drinking glass, and the drinking glass always goes to the top right of your plate. So if you put it up in the corner of your placemat, the top right corner, that's the exact right spot. And then we have our napkin, and because we are having dinner in the dining room, that's a fancier dinner, we're using cloth napkins. These are the kind of napkins that you can throw in the washing machine and use over and over. Even if you're not using a cloth napkin, if you're just using a regular napkin, it still goes on the left side of the plate, and what you want to do is take the edge and tuck it just underneath the plate so it sits just nicely. The next thing we're going to do is place our forks. Now, we have 2 forks today, you'll notice. Sometimes if you go to a restaurant, you'll have 2 forks. That is because the smaller fork is for your salad and the bigger fork is for your main dish. So, today we're going to have salad. So I'm going to place my dinner fork closest to the plate and my salad fork furthest away from the plate. Now when you eat, a good rule of thumb, if you go somewhere and there's lots of silverware, you always want to start from the outside in. So if you have a salad that's the furthest away from your plate, that's the one you're going to pick up first. Okay, next we have our knife and spoon. Now our knife always goes on the right side of the plate, closest to the plate. And you always want to put it so that the blade is facing the plate so that you don't have a chance of getting cut when you're moving your hand around over here. And the last thing we have is our spoon. And that goes, you guessed it, right next to the knife. So here is our beautifully set table. We're ready for a fancy dinner or just an everyday dinner. You could also read a copy of Spoon while you're having dinner, I guess. I don't know. See you on Tasty Thursday.